and so we place the safety. So hi, I'm Robi, also known as ambroscrochet somewhere on the internet, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet this little owl. Now, when it comes to this pattern, I usually don't like to say like it's for beginners, it's for, I don't know, it's medium difficulty. I think you should try to crochet whatever honestly you like. This is a little bit of a more advanced pattern because it has some stitches, as you can see, and some maybe techniques that are not as beginner friendly. I try to be as clear as I can when I explain them, but they could be a little bit more complicated. So if you have a little bit of patience with me, if you have any questions, if you are a beginner and you want to try it, or if you're not a beginner and I'm not very clear, just feel free to leave me a question in the comments. I get back to them as soon as I can. So yeah, let's just get to it. Okay, so here's what we are going to need. First of all, some yarn. I'm going to be using 4 different colors, but as usual you can pick any colors you like. And then we are going to need a crochet hook to match your yarn, so that's going to be a 3mm crochet hook for me, some pins, tapestry needle, scissors, toy stuffing, and also some 10mm safety eyes. And here are the stitches we will be working with: magic ring, single crochet increase, single crochet decrease, chains, half double crochets, double crochets, slip stitches, and also the crocodile stitch, which I'm going to show you how to make. So if you don't know how to make that one, don't worry. Okay, so first we're going to make the eyes. So I'm going to start with the color that I'm going to be using for the iris, so you can use any color that you like. It's going to be orange for me, and we are going to start with the magic ring, and round 1 is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So once that is done, we just close the magic ring, and you can either go to the white now, or we can make round 2 still on the same color and then switch to the white. It's going to be a little bit different when it comes to the eyes. I'm going to show you. So this is going to be the eye if you only make 1 round with the colorful yarn, and I quite like it actually. I like kind of like the star effect that it gives. But if you want the eye to look like this, then you're going to change colors on round 3. So that's what I'm going to do, but again, you can choose however you want to do it. So round 2 is going to be 1 increase in each single crochet for a total of 6 increases. So at the end, we are going to have 12 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we move on to round 3, and if you haven't yet, we are going to change colors. So I'm going to go to the white, and round 3 is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once those are done, we are just going to slip stitch, and then we are going to cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail so that we can sew the eye to the body. And we are going to start by placing the eye in the magic ring, so right in the center. So that's going to be the eye for now. Okay, so next we're going to make the beak. So I'm going to be making it in orange, but you can choose whatever color you want. And we are going to start by making a magic ring, and round 1 is going to be 4 single crochets into the magic ring. So once that is done, we just close the magic ring, and then round 2 is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we are going to have 6 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we move on to round 3, which is going to be the last round, and it's going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we are going to have 8 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once those are done, we are going to slip stitch, and then we cut the yarn, just leaving just a little bit of a tail so that we can sew, so that we can sew the beak to the head. So that's the beak done. Okay, so next we're going to make, it's not properly like an ear, but it's like an ear adjacent kind of thing. So I'm going to be using the same color as the body, and we are going to start with a magic ring. And round 1 is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So once that is done, we close the magic ring, and round 2 is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase, repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 9 single crochets, and I'll just see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we move on to round 3, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 3, we will still have 9 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we move on to round 4, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 12 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 4 is done, we can move on to round 5, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 15 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once those are done, we are just going to slip stitch and then cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail so that we can sew the ear to the head, and you want to make 2 of these. Okay, so unlike quite a few of my patterns, this is going to be worked bottom to top because that's the way that the crocodile stitch works. So I'm just going to give you that heads up, and we are going to get started with the body. So we're going to start working from the bottom, and then we work our way up to the head because the body and the head are worked in one piece. So we are going to start with the color that you chose to use for the body, and we are going to start with a magic ring. And round 1 is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So once that is done, we just close the magic ring, and then we move on to round 2, which is going to be 1 increase in each single crochet for a total of 6 increases. So at the end of round 2 we are going to have 12 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, and once round 2 is done, we move on to round 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we can move on to round 4, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated again 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 24 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 4 is done, we can move on to round 5, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 5 is done, we can move on to round 6, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 36 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 6 is done, we can move on to round 7, which is going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 42 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 7 is done, we move on to round 8, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 8 we will still have 42 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 8 is done, we move on to round 9, and basically now we are going to start building the crocodile stitch. So the crocodile stitch is actually made of 2 rounds. So the first round is going to be the round where we build the foundation basically for the stitch, and the second round is going to be the round where we actually make the stitch. So now we start building the foundation, if you will. So we are going to start by making 2 chains, 1 and 2, and then we are going to skip 2 single crochets from the previous round. So not this one, not this one, but we go into the 3rd single crochet. Okay, and we make 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. So you can see I have the last single crochet that we made of the previous round, then we made 2 chains and we skipped 2 single crochets, and then we make 2 single crochets into the third single crochet, counting from the last single crochet that you made in the previous round. Okay, and then we are going to chain 2, and once again we count 1, 2 single crochets, starting obviously from the first empty single crochet that you have. So we made 1 single crochet increase, so starting from the stitch next to that one, so we count 1, 2, and in the third single crochet we make this time 1 single crochet. Okay, and then once again we chain 2, skip 2 single crochets, so into the third single crochet we make 2 single crochets, then we chain 2 once again, skip 2 single crochets and make 1 single crochet into the third single crochet, and then once again chain 2, skip 2 single crochets, so we make 2 single crochets into the third single crochet, so 1 and 2, and then last time chain 2, skip 2 single crochets, and we make 1 single crochet into that third single crochet. Okay, and to finish the round we are going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 24 single crochets. So the last single crochet that you made doesn't count. Okay, you have to make 24 more from that one. Okay, so you should end up basically right here. Okay, so I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 9 is done, we move on to round 10. I zoomed you in very close, I know, but I'm going to show you how to make the crocodile stitches, so I wanted to make sure that you could actually see. So the first thing that I wanted to pay attention to is that we have 2 single crochets alternating, so we have 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then 1 single crochet. Okay, and that's important because I want you to, for the first, at least for the first 2 single crochets, especially if this is the first time that you make the crocodile stitch, I want you to insert the crochet hook in between the 2 stitches so that you separate them at least a little bit. Okay, just insert the crochet hook in between them so that you can actually see that you have 2 different single crochets, and basically when we try to insert the single crochet in between the 2, you already have that space. Okay, so we go back to our loop, and what we do is you want to turn your work like so, and we are going to yarn over because we're going to work with double crochets now. So you yarn over, and then you want to insert your crochet hook going from, and it's more difficult to say it than it is to do it, so it might sound a little confusing. Hopefully looking at it will also help. So you yarn over, and then you go underneath the 2 chains that you have. Okay, so not here but here, and then you go in between the 2 single crochets from the back of the single crochet. Okay, so you don't go here, you go here, and you have the crochet hook come out in between the 2 single crochets. Okay, I'm going to show you one more time. So yarn over, go underneath the 2 chains first of all, underneath the two chains, and then you go behind the 2 single crochets and in between the 2 single crochets, so right here. Okay, and you finish making your double crochet right here. So you yarn over again, pull through, and then you yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through the remaining 2 loops. So that's just a double crochet, regular double crochet. Okay, and now basically what you want to do is you want to make 5 more single crochets, 5 more double crochets, still going around that first single crochet. What does that mean? So you yarn over, and then still going at it from the back of the single crochet, you have the single crochet come out in between the 2 single crochets, and pay attention to keep the yarn always below the first double crochet that you made, otherwise it's going to look a little bit messy. So I'm going to show you one more time. So we have the first double crochet, which is a little bit difficult to see because it's the first one and you might confuse it with the chain, so that's you know, it's normal, it's fine. But you have the first double crochet, it's right here. So you're going to yarn over, insert the crochet hook from the back in between the 2 single crochets, okay, and then you yarn over again, pull through, and you finish making your double crochet. So yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. Okay, so that's 2. We have to make 6 in total. So again, yarn over, go in between the 2 single crochets from the back, and the more double crochets you make, the easier it's going to be because it's going to create more space. So you yarn over again, pull through, and then you just finish making your double crochet. Okay, so that's 3, and you can also see how it's going to be a little bit easier because you know that you have to go here now. See, there is that space right here, which is where you have to insert the crochet hook every time, so it's going to get easier. So yarn over, go in between the 2 single crochets. See how this time I didn't even have to go like so because it's getting easier, but if you want to see, I'm going to show you. So yarn over, go in between the 2 single crochets, and see how I move the yarn because I don't want to keep the yarn here because then it's going to look like a mess. So I keep the yarn here, and you yarn over, pull through, and finish making the double crochet. So that's 4, and we are going to make 2 more. So 5 and 6, and once you've made those 6, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So this is half the crocodile stitch that we're going to make. Okay, it looks a little bit like a scale, you know, I suppose that's why it's called a crocodile stitch. So we are going to make 2 chains, and we're going to slip stitch into the first chain. Okay, and that just makes a little point for the plume, so it, you know, it's more aesthetic than anything else. And then we have to basically now make 6 double crochets on the other single crochet. Okay, so the way that works is we are going to yarn over, and then we are going to take our crochet hook. So I'm gonna show you, this is the remaining single crochet, okay, the one where we didn't make any double crochet. So we are going to yarn over, insert the crochet hook, still going from behind the single crochet. So see, I go behind the single crochet, insert the crochet hook in between the 2 single crochets, which should be easier now because that other single crochet is completely covered by the double crochets, and we finish making the double crochet, and that's 1. So we have to make 6. So 1, and then again, you know, yarn over, go into that same space, and then we finish making the double crochets, and we have to make 6 more. So yarn over, go behind that single crochet, yarn over, pull through, finish making the double crochet. 4, 5 and 6, which is going to be the last one. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like. So what we do next, if you remember, we have then 1 single crochet. So we have alternated between making single single crochets and 2 double crochets. Okay, so we have 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and so on. So what we do is we are going to slip stitch into that single crochet. So we slip stitch right here. Okay, and what that does is it just pins the whole scale down. So we are going to make 3 crocodile stitches in total, because if you remember, we have 3 single crochets and 3 couples of single crochets. So now we are going to once again make one more scale. So as we did for the previous one, identify the 2 single crochets, separate them a little bit if you need to, so that you already know where you have to insert the crochet hook. And we are going to yarn over, and then once again we go below the 2 chains, okay, and we go behind the single crochet, and we go in between the 2 single crochets, okay. And once again we are going to make 6 double crochets, and I'll just speed this up. Okay, so once we have the first 6 double crochets done, we are going to chain 2, and then we slip stitch into the first chain to make that little point, and then we go back and we make 6 double crochets onto the other single crochet. So once again I'm going to speed this up. Okay, so once those are done, this is what we are looking like. So we have 2 crocodile stitches, and we are going to once again slip stitch into that single crochet. Okay, and then we have to make the crocodile stitch one last time into that last couple of single crochets. So we are going to yarn over, go underneath the chain and in between the 2 single crochets, and we are going to make 6 double crochets going around that first single crochet. And once those are done, we chain 2, slip stitch into the first chain, and then we go to work into the other single crochet. So we make 6 double crochets going around that single crochet. Basically we use that single crochet almost as if it were a chain, if you will. In a different project sometimes you use chains like that, so basically as a base for the double crochets. And once we have 6 double crochets, we have our 3 crocodile stitches made. So we're going to slip stitch into the single crochet. Remember, the first single crochet that you have in this section isn't actually part of the single crochets, it's part of the base for the crocodile stitch, okay. So we're going to slip stitch into that stitch, and next we are going to finish round 10 by making 1 single crochet in each of the remaining 24 single crochets, okay. So at the end we are going to have still 42 single crochets, or rather we're going to have 24 single crochets and 3 crocodile stitches, but we're going to finish the round by making 1 single crochet in each of the next 24 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so before I go back to zooming you out, I just wanted to show you that the end of round 10, so the last single crochet that you make, should be into the last single crochet of the previous round, okay, because it can be confusing having different stitches. So I just wanted to show you, if you can see, that is the last single crochet from the previous round before I started making the crocodile stitch. Okay, so next we move on to round 11. So round 11 we are going to, if you take the crocodile stitches, if you remember when we built the foundation for the crocodile stitch, we made the chains of 2, right? And you should be able to find them again. I'm going to do something a little bit, it's not really pretty, but just to give you an idea, and so that you don't mistake the first double crochet for the chains, so the first double crochet of the crocodile stitch with the chain. So we have a chain of 2, which is this one. Okay, you should be able to see it if you go back to watching the basically if you watch the back of your work, or the inside, I suppose, of your work, it should be easier to identify, because you should be able to see the 2 chains a little bit more clearly. So this one's, now nothing bad is going to happen if you mistake the first double crochet for the 2 chains, but just, you know, just if you want to pay a little bit more attention to that. So we are going to need those 2 chains, so this one and then this one, and then this one and this one, you know, and so on for the last one as well. And then we are going to also work here, so basically right in the middle of the crocodile stitch, so in this space right here. Okay, and what are we going to do in those places? So we are going to start by making 2 single crochets in those 2 chains. Okay, so you don't need to go inside the chain. Okay, you can work under the chain. So if you can see, this is the chain. Okay, so you go underneath the chain, and we're just going to make 2 single crochets here, so 1 and 2. Okay, and then we make 2 single crochets in that space that I showed you before, so 2 single crochets in the middle of the crocodile stitch, so 1 and 2, and then once more 2 single crochets in that chain space. So you once again find those 2 chains, go underneath the chain and make 2 single crochets, so 1 and 2. Okay, and we repeat that for the next 2 scales as well. So you make 2 single crochets going into the chain space, so 1 and 2, then 2 single crochets in the middle of that crocodile stitch, so 1 and 2, and then 2 single crochets in that chain space, so 1 and 2, and then one last time 2 single crochets in that chain space, so 1, 2, and then 2 single crochets in the middle of the crocodile stitch and 2 single crochets in that chain. Okay, so basically now we have 18 single crochets made in the spaces left by the crocodile stitches. So we finished the round, so this is just the beginning of round 11. We finished the round by making 1 single crochet in each of the remaining 24 single crochets. Okay, so at the end we are going to have 42 single crochets, and remember that you have to pay attention to where you make the first single crochet here, because if you remember, we finished making the crocodile stitch by making 1 slip stitch, and so you're going to have to go a little bit underneath that crocodile stitch to find the first single crochet, otherwise you won't get all of the single crochets. Okay, so pay a little bit of attention to it, and I would recommend, like, even I and I say even I simply because I've been crocheting for a long time, not because I'm some kind of authority, but even I still count when it comes to this project specifically how many single crochets I'm making to make sure that I make all of them. So if you go to the end and you find yourself having 23 single crochets, if you're counting just the single crochet that you make here, or 41 single crochets if you're counting all of them, then go back. It's probably because you've missed this single crochet right here. Okay, so I'll back and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so now that round 11 is done, we go to round 12, and so round 12 and round 13 are going to repeat round 9 and round 10. So I'm going to write the instructions on the screen right now, so if you want to pause it and just keep it so that you remember what we did for those previous 2 rounds, that's what we're going to do. So to recap, round 12 is going to be the exact same as round 9, and round 13 is going to be the exact same as round 10. Okay, so I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 13 is done, which once again it's going to just be a repeat of round 10, so we have 2 rounds, if you will, of crocodile stitches. So we move on to round 14, and round 14 is going to be exactly the same as round 11. So it's going to be those 18 single crochets worked in the scales, and then the remaining 24 single crochets. I'm going to show you again just to make sure that we have that, and then there's going to be a slight variation at the end, but nothing to worry about. So we're just going to do that. Okay, so once again, I just zoomed you in a little bit so that you can see a little bit better. So this is going to be the round where we make 1 round of single crochets basically, but we have to kind of create those single crochets going back into the crocodile stitches. So we go into those 2 chains. I won't be as detailed in the explanation as I was in the previous round. So if you need to go back and check that out again, obviously feel free to. So we make 2 single crochets in the chain space, then we make 2 single crochets in the middle of the crocodile stitch, and then we make 2 single crochets going back into the chain. So 1 and 2. So those are the first 6 single crochets worked in the first crocodile stitch. Then we go into the next chain space, so right here, 1 and 2. Then 2 single crochets in the center of that crocodile stitch. Then we make 2 single crochets in that chain space, so 1 and 2. So you see I grabbed a little bit of the first double crochet and nothing really happens, so if it happens it's fine. Then we move to the next chain space, so 1 and 2, and then 2 single crochets in the middle of that crocodile stitch, and then 2 single crochets in that last chain space. Okay, and then we make 1 single crochet in each of the remaining 24 single crochets, and I'm gonna see you once those are done, and I'm gonna tell you what we are going to change very slightly. It's nothing to worry about, so I'll see you once those are done. So that's not going to be the end of round 14. Okay, wait for me to be back. Okay, so I made those 24 single crochets. Now the very slight variation that there's going to be is we are going to make 1 more single crochet into the next single crochet. So I'm going to explain why. Basically, we're working in rounds, right? So when you work in round, what happens is the beginning of the round basically moves further and further to the right. Okay, so for example, if you look at your magic ring, you might have the same situation that I have. So the beginning of the first 6 single crochets was here, and if you look at where the beginning of the round is now, it's going to the right. Okay, so if I didn't make this 1 single crochet and we just kept making the crocodile stitches going in the same way, so basically without making that single crochet, the crocodile stitches would move to the right. Okay, but I want them to be a little bit more centered. So making that single crochet isn't adding a single crochet to the round, so we don't have 43 single crochets now. We simply moved the round a little bit to the left so that we keep the crocodile stitches balanced. Okay, so that's it. That's all it was. I know I made a big deal out of it. So that's round 14 done. So round 15 and round 16 are going to once again be a repetition of round 9 and round 10. So round 15 is going to be the exact same as round 9, and round 16 is going to be the exact same as round 10. Okay, so I'll see you once those are done. If you need to go back and watch them again, please feel free to, and yeah, I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so now that round 16 is done, we move on to round 17. So round 17, we are going to go back to making the round of just single crochets, except that we are going to start decreasing. So hear me out, it's nothing difficult, but I need to explain it. So instead of making 6 single crochets in each crocodile stitch, we're going to make 5 single crochets in each crocodile stitch. So what does that mean? You are going to once again find that chain space, and in that chain space we still make 2 single crochets, so 1 and 2. But then in the middle of the crocodile stitch you want to make just 1 single crochet, okay? And then you go on and make 2 single crochets in that chain space, so 1 and 2. Okay, so that's how we make 5 single crochets in each crocodile stitch. So you make 2 single crochets in the chain space, then you make 1 single crochet in the middle of the crocodile stitch, and then 2 single crochets into that chain space. And once again we are going to make 2 single crochets into that chain space, 1 single crochet in the center of the crocodile stitch, and 2 single crochets in that chain space. Then we are going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 single crochets, okay? So just the first 3, don't forget to also catch that single crochet that's going to be a little bit hidden by the crocodile stitch, so 1, 2 and 3, and then we are going to make 5 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 3 times. So at the end of the round we are going to have 36 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 17 is done, we move on to round 18, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 30 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 18 is done, we move on to round 19, and we are going to go back to something a little bit complicated, but nothing like what you just did. Okay, so we're here. So we're going to make 6. We're going to make 6 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we are going to single crochet into the 5th single crochet. So you count starting from the first 3 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th single crochet, going into the front loop only. Okay, so right here, and you're going to single crochet. Okay, and then once again chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we count 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th single crochet, but just in the front loop we're going to make 1 single crochet, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th, just in the front loop, 1 single crochet, and then once again 6 chains, and 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th single crochet, front loop, 1 single crochet, and then 6 chains and into the 5th single crochet, front loop only, 1 single crochet, and then one last time 6 chains, and then you should be able to count 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th, which is the last single crochet, or last decrease rather, that we made in the previous round. So you go once again you go into the front loop and you make 1 single crochet. Okay, now this is where the complicated things start a little bit, just a little bit, nothing too difficult. So let me zoom you in. Okay, so what round 19, because technically it's still going to be round 19, so I'm going to call both these chain spaces that we made and the next round that we're going to make round 19, because technically it builds off of round 18. You don't care. So round 19, if you want to help yourself a little bit, you can basically push these upwards so that you have the previous round, so round 18, a little bit more visible. Now what we want to do is we are going to single crochet basically into the single crochets that remained from round 18, right? Because when we made those chain spaces, we skipped some single crochets, and in some we worked in front loops only, so we still have those back loops that we can work into. Okay, so what we do is going behind the chain space, so don't single crochet doing this, don't single crochet pushing the chains inwards, because that's going to hide the chains and we need them to add some details. So you go behind the chains, right? Hence why I told you you can push them outwards if that helps. And basically you want to make your first single crochet. If you see, we have the last decrease of round 18, which is here. Okay, so we want to make the first single crochet here, because this is the first free single crochet that we have. So technically, basically, if you were to keep working starting from round 18, let's pretend we never made the chain spaces, that's the stitch that you would just work into, right? So we do that, except that we now also have the chain spaces. So we go in that single crochet, so you can push this out of the way with your crochet hook or with your fingers. So we make just a single crochet here, regular single crochet. Okay, and then you make one single crochet into the next single crochet. So see how that helps keeping the chains just pinned down. So 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then you reach the single crochet where you made the previous single crochet. So you can see I have the single crochet that we used to basically kind of anchor the chains to the body. So we have that single crochet, but it's worked in front loop only, so we still have the back loop that we can work into. And in that back loop we are going to make, I know I'm going to make this a little bit more complicated just in case, we're going to make one increase. Okay, so that's the back loop, but you should be able to see that, and we make one increase. So 2 single crochets. Okay, and you repeat that for the rest of the round. So we have 4 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 36 single crochets, and I'm going to show you just one more time, even though I think the first space is probably the most difficult, and then it just becomes easier. So you make 1 single crochet in each of the first 4 single crochets, and then using the back loop of that single crochet you make 1 increase. So 1 and 2. Okay, so 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 36 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, sorry, I'm back just for one thing, because I realized once you reach the end of the round it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So if you can see, this is the chain, right? So this is where I started making my single crochets, and this is the last chain space, and this one right here is the last single crochet that I made to once again anchor the chains to the body, right? So the last increase you can just make into that single crochet, so you don't need to go in back loops only, you can just go in this single crochet, which is the last single crochet that we made to once again anchor the chains to the body. So you just make your increases right there, or your increase right there. Okay, so that is round 18 done, that is round 19 done, and now we move on to round 20 to 22, because round 20, 21 and 22 are just going to be one single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 20, 21 and 22 we will still have 36 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 22 is done, we move on to round 23, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 23 is done, we move on to rounds 24 and 25, because both of those rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 24 and at the end of round 25 we will still have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once we are done with round 25, we can move on to round 26, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 24 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 26 is done, before we move on to round 27, I wanted to place the eyes. So you take the whole thing, and we are going to place the safety eye. So you should refer to the safety eye, not the whole thing, and that is going to go between rounds 22 and 23. And so we place the safety. So the orange cat is back, and he's on my windowsill, and Oliver went to say hi, so we're going to feed the cat and then we'll be back. Okay, so I was saying, we place the safety eye between rounds 22 and 23, so right here, and you want to place it so that basically the structure of the eye, if you will, so the next 2 rounds are kind of in line with the edge of the crocodile stitches. Now I'm about probably 1 stitch off, maybe half a stitch, so that's still fine, but that's what you want to use as reference. Next we place the second eye, so we do the same thing. So we go between rounds 22 and 23, and you can kind of take into consideration the fact that we're on round 26 now, so 26, 25, 24, 23. So here, sorry, Oliver wants to go say hi to the cat, so we open the window. It's an exciting afternoon for him, so we won't say anything. Okay, so we place that there, and once again you want to check that it's kind of in line with the crocodile stitch. So it is, so that's fine. So we're going to place the safeties, and I'm going to do that off camera because round 27 is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 27 we will still have 24 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 27 is done, I realized that I had placed the eye on the wrong round. Sorry, just the cats were distracting me. So I like sewing the eyes and the beak now because there is no stuffing, and I just find it easier. But if you want to sew them once it's all done and stuffed, that's absolutely up to you, but I'm going to do it now. So one thing, if you're going to sew anything when it's not stuffed, just keep in mind that you want to sew it as if the owl were already stuffed, so you kind of have to really make everything like nice and taut, if that, I think that's the right word for it. So it's going to be very simple because I'm just going to go into the head and then back into the eye, just stitch by stitch. And again, it's easier because there is no stuffing right now, so I prefer to do it this way. Okay, so I'll just finish sewing the eyes and then I'll be back for the beak. Okay, so next I'm going to sew the beak. Once again, you can do it once the owl is stuffed. I'm going to do it now. So I stuffed the beak just a little bit because it's very small, so it doesn't fit much stuffing into. You can't fit much stuffing into it. There we go. So I'm going to place it on round. Sorry, I'm threading the needle. Okay, so I placed it on rounds. So if this is 22, 23, it's about 22, 21, 20. But you can kind of place it wherever you want. Even lower, I think, would look nice. So it just goes in between the eyes, and I'm gonna sew it in the same way that I sewed the eyes. So just go into the head, and then I'm going to sew on the eye as well as a little bit, simply because I sewed the eyes a little bit closer together, so the beak is going to go onto the eyes, and that's fine. So I just go stitch by stitch into the beak and then into the head. Okay, so once that is done, I'll be back. Okay, so once that is done, we are going to start stuffing the owl. So I started stuffing the owl, and then we move on to round 28, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end, we are going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 28 is done, we move on to round 29, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end, we are going to have 12 single crochets, and just keep stuffing as we go, and make sure to stuff especially the head very well, because that's going to help with because sometimes, you know, when you work bottom to top, it can look a little bit funky on the top, so stuffing it well will help to make it look better. Okay, so just make sure that you keep stuffing and that you stuff it pretty well. Okay, so once round 29 is done, we move on to the last round, which is going to be round 30, which is going to be just 6 decreases. So at the end, we are going to have 6 single crochets or 6 stitches, and I'll see you once those are done. And remember to keep stuffing. I know I'm harping on this, but remember to keep stuffing. Okay, so once that is done, we are going to slip stitch and then cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail so that we can adjust the last round so that it doesn't show as much. So I'm going to show you how to do that, if I can find my needle, which I always misplace. Oh, it's here. Okay. Okay, so to make the last round look a little bit less like the last round, if you will, we are going to use the needle, and basically what you want to do is you want to be in focus. Okay, I'm going to insert the needle in the front loop only of the stitch where I made the slip stitch, and I pull, and then I go basically in the opposite stitch in what would be the front loop if I were to be working on that side. So if I were here, that would be the front loop, but because we're here, it kind of looks like the back loop, but it's still the front loop. So like this, and you pull, and then you go into this stitch, still in the front loop, and in the corresponding stitch on the other side, still in the front loop, and you pull, and then one last time in those last 2 stitches. So that's kind of like the first step. And then what you do is, if you can see it's a little bit raised almost right here. So what you do is you try to flatten those areas with just the needle and the yarn. So you go into the stitch and you go into the head. Okay, basically you can do that to make it look a little bit better. Okay, so I think that looks fairly good. So that's going to be the head and body done. Actually, we have to add the detail to the body weight. Okay, we're going to do that now. Okay, so I'm going to be using the third color to make the detail on the body. So you can pick any of the chain spaces that you want. I suggest you go to the back so that you know, it doesn't show when we have to close the whole thing, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So we're going to join the color into the chain space, and into each of these chain spaces we are going to make 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 4 double crochets, and then 1 half double crochet, and then 1 single crochet, and 1 slip stitch. Okay, so now you tend to have all the stitches kind of like bunched up together, so kind of like spread them out a little bit so that you cover basically the entirety of the chains. Okay, and what you do next is you basically go to the next chain space. Okay, so here we have the next chain space, so you just slip stitch into the next chain space, just like so. Okay, like so. And then once again we make 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 4 double crochets, then 1 half double crochet, 1 single crochet, and 1 slip stitch. Okay, and then we move to the next chain space, and once again we would, okay, possibly in English, we make 1 slip stitch, okay, 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 4 double crochets, then 1 half double crochet, 1 single crochet, and 1 slip stitch. Okay, so we do that for the remaining chain spaces, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once those are done, I'm going to slip stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch going back into the first chain space. So I'm just gonna try, because it's going to be a little bit of a tough stitch because it's the first one that I made. Okay, kind of close enough. Okay, so that, you know, it looks cohesive. So I'm going to cut the yarn, leaving just a little bit of a tail so that we can like weave it into the rest of the detail. So that's the detail on the body done, and next we are going to make the wings. Okay, so wings, I'm going to use the same color as the body, so we're going to start with the magic ring, And round 1 is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So we close the magic ring, and round 2 is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated 3 times, so that's going to be 9 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we move on to round 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 3 we will still have 9 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we move on to round 4, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 4 is done, we move on to round 5, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 5 we will still have 12 single crochets, and I'll see you once those are done. Okay, so once the wing is done, we are going to make the plumes of the wing. I cut the yarn, you don't cut the yarn, or cut a much longer tail, because we're going to use that to sew the wing. I forgot and I cut it, but let's just ignore that. So I'm going to go to my dark brown. You can use whatever color you like, and we are going to start by making 1 slip stitch into the next single crochet, and then we make 8 chains. Then starting from the 4th chain from the hook, we are going to make 1 double crochet in each of the next 5 chains. And once those are done, we are going to slip stitch. So basically you skip 1 single crochet and you slip stitch into the next one. So the whole thing takes 3 single crochets, because it's the first one where we made the slip stitch, then you leave 1 and you slip stitch into the next one. So 3 single crochets in total. So I'm just going to slip stitch here, and then we repeat that 3 more times. So we slip stitch into the next single crochet, we chain 8, then starting from the 4th chain from the hook, we make 1 double crochet in each of the next 5 chains. And then you skip the next single crochet and you slip stitch into the next single crochet. Okay, so you have to do that 2 more times, so in total it's going to be 4 of these plumes, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once you've made the last slip stitch, we are going to cut the yarn, and you can leave a little bit of a tail, because as you can see, these when you work stitches like these, they tend to curl, especially with certain kinds of yarn. So I like sewing the plumes to each other, basically just a couple of stitches so that they lay flat basically once I sew the wing to the body. So that's what I'm going to be using the tail for, but you can do as you please, and you want to make 2 of these. Okay, so next we're going to make the feet. So I'm going to be using the orange yarn, and we are going to start by making 2 chains, and in the first chain you want to make 3 single crochets. And then row 2, we are going to chain 1, turn your work and make 1 single crochet in each single crochet for a total of 3 single crochets. And then once again chain 1, turn, and 1 single crochet in each single crochet. And next we are going to make a single crochet properly. Okay, So we turn the thing, the foot, and we are going to chain 4. Then starting from the second chain from the hook, we are going to make 1 single crochet in each chain, so 3 single crochets in total. And we are going to slip stitch into the last single crochet of that previous round. So right here we slip stitch. Okay, and we repeat this 2 more times. So we chain 4, then starting from the second chain from the hook, we make 1 single crochet in each chain for a total of 3 single crochets. And then we slip stitch into the next single crochet, so that's going to be the one in the middle. And then one last time we are going to chain 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then starting from the second chain from the hook, 1 single crochet in each chain for a total of 3 single crochets. And then we are going to slip stitch into the last single crochet, and that's going to be the foot. You want to make 2 of these, and we are going to cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail so that we can sew it to the body. And now we have all the pieces, so we go on to assembling. Okay, so we're going to sew the ears, and where I place the ears, as usual, you can place them wherever you want, but I place them counting 3 rounds above the detail on the body. So this is the detail on the body. You can see where basically the stitches are pulling on the round. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then that's the ear. And I placed it so that it would be a couple of stitches from the eye on both sides. Okay, and then you kind of check if they're symmetrical, if it looks good, and you adjust as needed. And when it comes to actually sewing the ears, okay, so basically the way that I'm going to sew it is, first of all, I'm going to go into the head, and I'm going to go into both sides of the ear. Come on, work with me. Okay, so you go in both sides, so here, and then you have it come out on the corresponding stitch on the other side, so right here. And then you go into the head and you keep moving downwards, still going into both sides of the ear. Okay, then into the head and back in both sides of the ear. Okay, so I'll see you once that is all sewn. Okay, so once the ears are sewn, we're going to add the detail to the ear if it's something that you want to add. So basically, I cut 6 strands of yarn. These are about 10 centimeters, and I just made 2 in each of the colors that I used, except for the white, but as usual, you can do as you please. And I'm going to insert the crochet hook between round 1 and 2 of the ear on both sides. So you kind of want to eyeball the center, so right here for me, so don't go too much to the side, so don't go here, for example. Okay, try to stick to the center, so here, and basically go into the corresponding stitch on the other side, still between rounds 1 and 2. And we are going to loop the 6 strands of yarn around your finger, and you grab them with your crochet hook and you pull them through, working a little bit with it. This was the wrong crochet hook for this, because this crochet hook doesn't really hold on to its handle, basically. Okay, so pull them through, not all the way, still having that loop in your crochet hook. And now basically what you do is a slip stitch using all of the strands of yarn. So pull them through, and then you just pull. Okay, so we are going to shorten that You can leave them as long as you like. Okay, so something like that, and you want to do that on both ears, so I'll be back with that done, and we are going to sew the wings next. Okay, so before we actually go to sew the wings on, I'm going to sew the plumes so that they're going to lay flat. Once I've sewn the wing, you can skip this step if you want to. And basically the way that I'm going to sew them is, first of all, I'm going to fold the wing in half so that the plumes are kind of alternating. So you can see we have the front one, the back one, the front one, the back one. So it's not folded this way, so that basically you have them all aligned so that you can kind of not see like the front one and the back one, if that makes sense. So you fold it a little bit, offsetting the plumes, okay, like this. And then I'm just going to sew the plumes to each other. So I'm going to go here, and I just go down just a couple of stitches so that the plumes don't curl too much, and then I go to the next one and I do the same with this back one. And then with that last one as well. Okay, so I'm just going to weave this in. And now we can just sew the wing to the body. Okay, so the way that I like to sew the wings, as you can see from this one, is it's a little bit angled. It's almost like, if you think of this as an arm, it's not as an arm, it's not perfectly straight, it's a little bit tilted, right? And that's how I like to sew it, because I like that you can kind of see it from the front like this, but you don't have to do it as I do it as usual. But I'm going to place the wing, first of all, pretty much on the same round as the crocodile stitch. So as you can see, like height wise is on the same round. Okay, and as far as how far away from that round it's going to be, as you can see here, it's very much like, it's very close. So it's probably like one stitch in between once you've tilted it, if you do it like I do it, so something like this. Okay, and I'm just going to eyeball it because I haven't found a better way to check if the wings look good. So I'm going to make sure that they're somewhat symmetrical. So you can kind of check if you want to, like, how far away is it from the ear, so I can see that it's like one stitch away from the ear. So yeah, that kind of works. Okay, so when it comes to sewing the wing, you are going to get that tail that we left, and basically, so you want to sew the back of the wing, right? So you don't want the needle to come out all the way, because I like to leave the wing a little bit raised, if you will. If you were to go all the way through the wing and then sew it, it would be very flat on the body, and that's not the way that I want to sew it. Again, if you want, that's perfectly fine, but I'm just going to sew the back of the wing. So I'm going to keep the wing like so for most of the sewing until basically I can't anymore. So I'm going to check where that would be sewn, so about here. So I go into the body, and you just keep it basically to kind of like the perimeter of the wing. So you go into those stitches on the back of the wing, and you can either like physically raise the wing from the body and go into the wing, or if you can keep the wing pinned to the body. It's going to be a little bit more laborious, but the result is pretty much the same. And obviously, if part of the wing goes onto the crocodile stitch, I wouldn't sew that part, so I wouldn't sew the crocodile stitches down, because kind of like the point of the crocodile stitch is to simulate a little bit of plume moment, so I wouldn't sew them, but if you want to, obviously you can. But hopefully you can see I just literally raise the wing, go into the stitch that I need, and then go into the body to sew it. So because this part for me of the wing would go onto the crocodile stitch, like you can see here, it would be on the crocodile stitch, I'm not going to sew it. I'm going to go more towards the inside and then go back to sewing it onto the body. And now I can't really raise the wing anymore because all sides are sewn, so I'm just going to do it like this. Okay, so that's the wing sewn. Okay, next we're going to sew the feet. Okay, so last thing is we are going to sew the feet. So you want to place them so that the basically the bottom part, so this part right here, starts on the third round. So I'm going to find my crochet hook. So as you can see, it's 1, 2, and it's on the third. So 1, 2 on the third, and basically you want to place them. So the first thing that I checked is I placed them so that they would basically take up all the space of the crocodile stitches. So as you can see, kind of like the outer part of the feet coincides or it's aligned, I suppose, with the edge of the crocodile stitches. Or one thing you can do is you can also use the crocodile stitches in the middle, which is basically kind of like the center of the body, and you can kind of check again with my imaginary lines as per usual. Are we in focus? No. Okay. If I stopped maybe waving the crochet hook, that would help. So you can check if you trace an imaginary line from basically the point of the last crocodile stitch. You can trace an imaginary line and see if the feet are on the same distance from that line, basically. So you can kind of pull those tricks if you want to. You can also go by eye. You can eyeball it and just see if they're placed symmetrically, which they are for me as of right now. So I'm going to show you how to sew them and then we'll be done. So first of all, we're going to sew this side. So I'm just going to go into the body and then into the foot, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch on the foot and into the body. So as you can see, I'm not going from the foot into the body like so, because I don't want the orange to bleed into the color of the body, right? I want to keep the orange confined to the border of the foot, basically. So this tail I'm just going to pull into the body once I'm done sewing, and of course now okay. And then when it comes to sewing on the outer side of both, I'm not going to sew following the line of the foot, because that would place the foot, like would sew the foot too much to the curve of the body, right? Because here it's where the body starts to curve, right? And I don't want to sew the foot so that it follows that curve. I want to keep it a little bit flat. And to do that, I'm going to sew, instead of following this line right here, I'm going to keep myself basically one stitch inside the foot. So I'm going to sew pretty much here. Okay, and obviously that might change depending on how you place the foot. So if you want to pay attention to that, then try and like place some pins and see what would the foot look like if you sewed it a certain way, right? That's honestly all that you need to do. And then I'm just going to also sew the front. I'm not going to sew the fingers, toes, I don't know. No, 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 no. Let's not do that. Okay, so I basically just sewed a little triangle here. Okay, so I'm just going to weave this in and I will be back. Okay, so that's my little owl done. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I know it was a little bit more complicated. There are a little bit of like more moving parts that are maybe a little bit more complicated. So if anything is unclear, please feel free to just leave a question in the comments. I try to get back to them as soon as I can. And yeah, that's it. If you want to subscribe, that's always very, very much appreciated. If you want to leave a like, leave a comment, that's always and also very, very much appreciated. And I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.